Friday Foodies is our segment on Fridays where we talk with our local purveyors of delicious food and beverage. And this morning's kind of a fun one. We have got Krista Holzclaw from Steep and Bloom Tea, and actually joining us on Zoom or on Teams meeting. Krista, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thanks
Thanks for having me.
Steep and Bloom is your brand new company. When did you get started?
So we launched officially at the beginning of October, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. The reception that we've received in the area and in the community has been phenomenal, and it's been so exciting to share these blends that I make with everyone. It's been awesome.
I got to say, it's a pretty unique business because I've never heard of just a tea company. I mean, I've had teas, I've had a variety of different teas. I love my throat coat tea.
Yeah.
But I was interested to hear that
You've never had small batch tea before.
You know what? I did have a tea. One time a guy gave me a little cup of some tea that came from a 300-year-old tea tree in China.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
That's like a thing. Yeah.
It's so the amount of information you can learn about tea is even more than wine. Like, it's so intense. But I'm doing all my own blending, and it's just been an absolute blast. It is not super common. Small tea companies aren't super common because, it is so easy to just get a bag of tea. But loose leaf tea and tisanes that I make. So tisane's a herbal blend. And so naturally caffeine free, but I also do teas as well, which are the Camellia sinensis plant. So fun fact, anything that is called tea technically isn't tea unless it comes from the Camellia sinensis plant. There's a tea plant.
Really?
So that's black tea, green tea, white tea. They all come from the Camellia sinensis plant. So that's what actual tea is, but it's just kind of like, it's like Kleenex for tissue or Band-Aid for an adhesive bandage. It's just become a catch-all term for something that you steep in hot water.
Oh.
But my herbal blends I call tisanes. It's a French term, and it just kind of encapsulates everything.
So do all teas have caffeine naturally?
If it is from the tea plant, it has some level of caffeine. So white tea has the least, green tea has more than that, and the black tea has the most.
Okay. And these, are there nutritional benefits to tea?
Nutritional, not necessarily, but sort of a medicinal-ish. So lots of herbs have benefits, and then the tea plant itself has benefits as well. So like, for example, the tea plant has caffeine, but it also has L-theanine, which helps you kind of like utilize that caffeine better, and it keeps you from getting jittery and things like that. But then my herbal blends, my tisanes, I have blended all of those both for flavor and for some sort of benefit, whether that's calming or digestion support, or actually have one that has the primary ingredient that throat coat has called Boost and Bloom. So if you like throat coat, you got to try Boost and Bloom.
Well, that's what I'll do for sure, because we do a lot of talking around here, and that kind of tea comes in handy sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you're going to be out at our Pajama Jam event here in a couple of weeks. So the participants of Pajama Jam, those who have purchased rooms and are going to be joining us for that, are going to get a chance to sample some of your teas as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. They're going to get to sample teas, and I'll have teas for sale and fun accessories and things of that nature, kind of just all things tea. I don't have a brick and mortar yet, but all of my blends are available at the Shops of Sharp End, which is a retail incubator downtown on 5th and Walnut.
Love it.
I'm so excited to be in there.
Okay, that's great. Now, what is a normal tea tasting consist of? How does that go? Is it kind of like a wine tasting?
It can be. Usually at big events like what Pajama Jam will be, with like lots of people and lots of bustling and things going on, I will have several teapots set up, and I'll have everything already brewed, and then I have warmers underneath them that keep them hot. And so you just come up and you try them, and we talk about them, and so people will. It is a lot like a wine tasting. So I actually used to be in the wine industry, so it is very similar actually. So you talk about like, what do you normally like? Oh, try this, and all of those kinds of things. But yeah, it's really similar.
Krista, how did you get into this?
Yeah, what led you to
How did you start doing tea?
Yeah, so I've always loved tea, even when I was younger. And I love loose leaf tea, and it is not super accessible in Columbia. There's not a lot of options for loose leaf tea. It's pretty limited in the area. And I just thought that was sad. And I thought that was like a hole that needed filling. And so I started playing with the idea of making my own blends. And ultimately, the goal is to have a brick and mortar tea shop, but also it's half tea shop, half tea room. That's the plan. So you can come and get afternoon tea or have a cream tea and sit down and enjoy it, but then also shop for all of your loose leaf tea needs.
Friday Foodies continuing on this Friday morning, and very happy to have Krista Holtzclaw in from Steep and Bloom Tea in Columbia. She's going to be a sponsor of Pajama Jam here in a couple of weeks, so if you're going to be there, you get a chance to sample her wares. Hey, let's talk a little bit about, because one of the things about tea that I've always been fascinated by is the English tea service. It happens like at a specific time each day. What is that all about? Because it's religion.
I'm not from
England.
England, so I'm maybe not the best person to be like, this is how it always works.
We should get Simon in here.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll get him.
Go find Simon. Go ahead, Krista.
But there's different things. So there is like afternoon tea, and there's afternoon tea service that's like it's like an in-between meal. And some people call it high tea, but that's a different thing entirely. But afternoon tea was kind of developed or coined by Anna, Duchess of Bedford, a long time ago. And it's like tea sandwiches and scones and little sweet treats. And so afternoon tea service as it is now, it's like you go and you sit down, at least, where I've been, you go and you sit down and you enjoy this like kind of indulgent, like almost meal. It's like little snackies, but together they kind of make up a meal. You're not hungry when you leave.
Now, there are different teas for different occasions, right? I mean, because they're
certainly, you can definitely. There's no hard and fast rules. There's definitely opinions on how you make your tea, and if you start the argument of if you put milk in first, some people will like freak out, which I do not. I am not a put milk in first, but there's people really passionate about their tea, and there's so many different ways. There's also different ways to make tea in Asian cultures, and there's gong fu style of making tea. There's all kinds of different amazing, like I said, the breadth of knowledge about tea and what you can learn about tea and all the different varieties and the different ways to make it and the different styles of cups even. I also do pottery at Access Arts just as a hobby, and I've learned about different like styles of cups, and there's different like styles of cups for different types of tea, and they can kind of like improve the experience.
Well, our local, our BXR expert on tea is Simon Rose, and he joins us here in the studio.
Good morning, Simon.
Hey, how's it going? Tea, PG Tips. I've already had some this morning. That's the English brand favored by myself.
Yeah.
PG Tips.
That's definitely a popular one.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Is tea a constant important thing in England for you?
Oh, absolutely, Mo. I mean, it is a constant thing. Yeah, it's constant. Like when my mum and dad would come and visit with us, Jenna would come home and I'd come home, and there'd be tea mugs lined up by the sink because they brew up constantly. And my mum still does that.
Cup of tea.
I can't wait for you to try some of my Steep and Bloom tea, Simon.
You know what? I'm really looking forward to that because, like you just said, the tea it's very different from brand to brand to brand. Like PG Tips, I would say, is like your working men's strong cuppa. You've got to have it with milk, in my opinion, and no sugar. I'm fairly strong.
Are you a milk in after, or are you milk in first?
Now, this is a controversial topic, as you well know. I'm a milk in first, and then the tea goes in on top of the milk.
Wow.
Yep.
How do you know how much to get? Oh, no.
Years of perseverance and getting it right. That's how.
He's just got it.
That's how.
What if you use a different size cup?
You kind of get to well, you kind of get to know it. You guys know. You know your teapot, right, and the size and how quickly it mashes and the tea brews, and then you're pretty much using mugs of a relatively similar size, so you can rarely go wrong if you're using a mug. Now, if you're using a teacup, and a saucer, then we're into a whole different territory.
Yes, because they're usually a lot smaller. They're usually only like 6 ounces.
That's right.
And that's so that you can drink it quickly before it gets cold and all of that. Plus, they're beautiful.
They are.
And I've heard that's the only way to drink.
The experience of tea.
The only way to drink tea is to drink it out of those a teacup.
No, oh, you mean like
My
Stacey with a
sister-in-law, who's
saucer?
really into tea, yeah, she said that is it. You can't be using just a big mug or
Oh
whatever.
no!
You
See,
have
that's.
to-
I see what she's
I
saying.
disagree with that.
We've been talking with Krista Holtzclaw
Yeah.
of Steep and Bloom Tea
I
in
need more
Columbia.
tea now.
Going to be a sponsor of Pajama Jam. So if you're going to be a participant there, you'll see her there. And how else can people contact you, Krista? How can they get your
Yeah.
tea?
Right. So you can get all of the blends. You have access to all of the blends at the Shops at Sharp End, the retail incubator downtown on 5th and Walnut, or online at steepandbloomtea.com. I have select varieties in a few other places around town. Make Sense on 9th and Cherry, Party Perfectly in the Stockyards over by Logboat, and the Dandelion on Main in Ashland. There's a few other places that hopefully will be in soon around the mid-Missouri area. And then there's some events coming up as well. I do lots of pop-up events. So obviously I'll be at Pajama Jam. I'm so excited about that. I'm also going to be releasing a brand new seasonal tea. I do lots of seasonal teas. My cup of cheer that I did for the Christmas season was absolutely fantastic and went over very well. It's been one of my personal favorites, and that's hard because I love them all so much, or I wouldn't sell them. But then I am doing a seasonal release on next Friday at the shops. So between 4 and 6, you can come to the Shops at Sharp End, and I'll be doing sampling, and I'll be releasing that new tea.
Okay, sounds good.
Southern Gents Candles in Rocheport is doing a tea party event that they're going to be serving Steep and Bloom tea on January 19th. So that's coming up. And then I'm also going to be doing a couple Galentine's events, one at Cooper's Ridge and one at Make Sense. So on my website, steepandbloomtea.com. You can find all that information. Or at Steep and Bloom Tea on Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
Fantastic. Krista Holtzclaw, thanks for joining us this morning. Really,
thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure having you on, and
Oh,
we're
wait,
looking forward
can
to.
you ask her the question? Do we have time?
Oh, yeah, no, we do. We've got to ask you the question that we always ask. Can you name, or would you like to name somebody else here locally that you think is doing a great job?
Well, there's no one else making tea locally, but there is a tea and cake shop that opened up recently called Winsome downtown. And so excited about them. But there's no one else making tea super locally. However, there is an unknown gym in Branson, or lesser known gym called Tea Maze in Branson. The owner's from Taiwan. It's absolutely amazing. I learned so much from her every time I go. She's such a just wealth of knowledge. So that one's a really fun, genuine tea shop where they make their own, but they bring in a lot, and they go over to Taiwan and work with tea masters on a regular basis. So that's really cool. It is down in Branson. It's not super local. But that one has just been so surprising to me that in Branson of all places, you don't expect to have this amazing international
fantastic.
access, but it's awesome. So Tea Maze down in Branson.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic.
All right. Krista, stay safe, stay warm, and best
I'll
of
try.
luck.
Have some tea by the fire.
Thank you so much.
I'm
Thank
off for
you.
a brew. I'm off for a
wonderful.
brew.